Hello, good morning, and thanks for joining us at Startup Grind. Spark Centre is excited to bring you this event in partnership with Catalyst, an accelerator in Northern Ireland. And before we begin, I'd like to thank Spark Centre's elite partners, Alterna Savings, Bereskin and Parr, Finance Without Borders, Suresh Law, Spark Innovations, and Roughly Insurance Brokers. So before we begin, I'll take a moment and I'll just give you a little bit of background on myself. I got my start back in university. I took math because that seemed to be what came easily, and computer science at University of Waterloo. And I started my career in IT, developing enterprise systems and large-scale mainframe applications, and thought that was my destiny. I realized a few years later that I probably should have taken business at school, and I was definitely itchy looking for something different. I found my way into an entrepreneurial opportunity, and I think as I've learned over time that, like many of you here today, the entrepreneur spirit finds you. And so I had actually, without realizing it, I had taken 2 or 3 different opportunities during my teenage years and my early adult years, and started up small companies. And so that was obviously in my future. I helped a company grow and expand nationally, and that's how I learned my craft, selling IT services, and then I launched my own firm to do the same after helping them sell their business. I then sold my business 4 years ago and have taken the new path towards helping companies grow. I started angel investing back in the early 2000s, and I invested in a number of companies, and I gained a keen interest in seeing early stage companies grow. And so now I provide advisory services, helping companies with strategic growth and sales process, sales management. And then more recently, given that the company that bought my firm was an M&A consolidation firm, that's how I started doing mergers and acquisitions to help accelerate growth. So it's a little bit about my background. I enjoy angel investing, and I'm enjoying working with the Spark Centre and Synergy Lab, providing advice to clients looking for advice and guidance on growth. Now, I'd like to introduce. First, I'll mention. I'll encourage all of you to. We've got many in the audience today. Please use the chat and share your name and who you are, what you do for a living. It'd be nice to see the collection of people that are joining us. So now I'd like to introduce our contestants. We are very pleased to have with us today Peter Gillen, Smart Bell, Rowan Armstrong, BioLiberty, Garrett Allen, Indicom, Danny Gibson, Inkster, and Victoria Watts, Pasta Tavola. Welcome, everybody. And we have also an esteemed panel of judges with us today to critique and give feedback on the pitches. We've got Mark Lawrence, Managing Director, Northcrest Partners, and Chair of Angel Investors Ontario. Jennifer Renda, President and CEO of Diverso Solutions. She's also an angel investor. And Deborah Nasinski, mentor and angel investor as well. So thank you. I'd like to ask them to join me now. I was going to, in just a short moment, the pitching contest will begin. But first, I'd like to give you a little bit of background on what makes for an ideal investment pitch. So an investment pitch, in essence, should be a concise summary of your business plan. An effort to make it compelling is obviously the way you're going to capture your audience's attention. It should not be just a product pitch. Your product is only one element of your business plan. So a lot of founders get themselves caught, and they spend a lot of time, and their excitement takes them down the path of describing all the features that makes their product or solution so wonderful. Investors are interested in the business opportunity. They want to know how they're going to make money, and they want to know how they're going to get their money out in the form of an exit. So tell a compelling story. Talk about yourself, your personal story, how the business solution will be successful. and connect that to that value creation and how it's going to be realized through an exit. Remember, your audience are looking at things differently than you do. They are trying to assess the risk. A great idea is not sufficient for an investment risk. So there are a number of elements that play in on this. You could have a spectacular idea, and as we know, there are many, many businesses that launch and are unsuccessful due to a number of factors, but typically execution is a major one. So help them to understand the essence of your business and be aware that they are very closely assessing the risk elements. Next slide, please. So here's the process. The first goal for you really is to establish the problem that you're trying to solve. So describe the problem. How painful is it? Provide validating information. There is a lot of data out there, so do your research. What if it's not a problem per se that you're trying to fix, but instead perhaps it's an opportunity that others have missed out on? Describe your opportunity. How have you come to know this? What's your personal story? Has your life been affected by it in some way? And why are you so passionate about it? Why do you care? Once you've defined the problem, next slide, please. How are you going to solve it? So this is where there should be a significant impact, and you should be capturing the attention of your audience. What does your product do? How does it work? Perhaps a short video, or perhaps some imagery, depending on the nature of your product or service. Have you tested it with customers? Do you have any feedback? And are there actually customers using it? Live demo, ideally. If it's not virtual, ideally you've got a product that you can demonstrate in person. That would be most effective. And hopefully you've got your audience's attention so that as you walk through the other elements of your presentation, they start to increase their engagement, and you should get some good questions afterwards. So next slide. So how are you going to make money? So you've defined the problem, and you've given your presentation on solution. How are you going to solve this problem? And how are you going to make money? This is where the investors are going to really zero in on. Okay, great. I hear you've got, this is a huge problem. You've got a good solution. But how are you going to monetize it? How are you going to drive revenue? What's the opportunity for growth? You know, do you have key partners or a strategic client? Are there certain activities that help to define a rapid acceleration in your early stage growth? How are you going to pay for this? How are you structuring your costs? Are you using fractional resources? Are you partnering with other firms? Do you have channel partners perhaps? Do you have multiple revenue streams? Are you planning on a recurring revenue model? All of these elements. I've seen companies that form their business model through partners, through sales agents or brokers for regional representation. So think through the elements of your business and how you're going to drive results. Next slide, please. So now we understand how you're going to conduct your business. We understand the problem and the solution. And now, how big is the opportunity? How excited should we be about the potential for this investment? So there is a lot of information available to you. Use the information to help try to quantify the scale of the market that you're going to be going after. Who's your target users? Is it a niche product or a mass market product? How big is the opportunity? What do you realistically think you can capture? And realistic is an important element. Throughout your pitch, you are trying to not only convey information, you're also trying to present yourself as being believable and trustworthy. These are key elements. Your presentation should demonstrate the confidence and a thorough understanding of not only your business, but the marketplace you're going to compete in. Next slide, please. So, competition. So your investors are all over this now. You've defined the problem and your solution. You've given us information on how you're going to run the business and make money and the scale of the opportunity. And now we're going to start to wonder, well, why isn't somebody already doing this, or who is already doing this, and what exactly do they have to offer, and how does it compete? What's unique about what you're doing? This is a really important slide. There's a number of different ways to present competition. Scatter graph or scatter chart that shows different logos and categorizes the businesses based on a number of different factors, or a feature comparison table like this, or a combination thereof. Define what makes you unique. How do you differentiate yourself from your competitors? Think about competitors that are logical competitors that you're going to be competing with immediately in your markets. And try to give an indication, a reasonable indication on what makes you a more attractive option for the customers. Next slide. This is an important element. And now that we understand all the elements of what your business is about and who you're competing with, now we're going to assess whether or not we feel confident that you are capable of execution. Have you attracted the right team? What's the background, the pedigree, the experience, the depth, and the breadth of coverage across the various skills or competencies required? How relevant is the experience that your team has? What's your background? Who have you worked for? That gives an indication of the scale of, or the significance of, the experience and how relevant. Have you built a startup before? We like to see serial entrepreneurs. We like to hear stories of success and failure. We know you learned a significant amount when failing, and entrepreneurs often have multiple ventures, not all of which are necessarily successful, but achievements. So some third-party validation of success that would be helpful to highlight the impact that your team is going to have. Next slide, please. What's your go-to-market strategy? So how are you going to reach your target market? And be thoughtful with regards to this. I've seen a lot of presentations where people talk about, well, I'm going to raise some money and I'm going to build a sales team. And that's sort of a given. But what else are you going to do? This speaks to partnerships as a way to accelerate growth. This speaks to integrating with other solutions, revenue sharing perhaps with partners. This speaks to social media campaign, the many different social media platforms that you should be on. How are you going to deliver on that? Are you going to hire somebody, or do you have somebody on your team already? And obviously sales being critical. Ideally, there is someone on your team, and obviously in the early stages, the founder is going to be the key person that's going to be driving sales, chief revenue officer. And how capable are you of driving that effort? Very critical. I encourage the audience to throw questions into the chat if you have questions. I think I see a couple there. So if I could just take a moment perhaps to fix my microphone, give me a second. Thanks, everybody. I hope that's better. Yeah, if you've got questions, please throw them in the chat. So status. What's your current status? Do you have any traction? What's your program? Have you hit any major milestones in your progression? So do you have a prototype ready? Have you done demos? Are you still in the concept or ideation stage? Do you have any active users? Do you have any major brands that would be impactful to know as customers? Do you have any feedback? Customer stories that you can share? Sales obviously is a critical element. So validating your product is confirmed when customers are willing to pay for it. Many of your businesses may be pre-revenue, but that doesn't mean that you aren't making progress. So think about this and look for opportunities to gain some relevant milestone or validation from third parties. Next slide, please. Financial plan. So here we are, we're landing. So with confidence, you need to now describe what you're looking for. How much money have you raised so far? What's the level of commitment that you're in for? And how much are you asking for? What are you going to use that money for? How thoughtful have you been with regards to assessing your need for funds? As I said, be confident, make a strong statement. Don't hesitate when you ask. This is a really important element. And how well do you understand your finances? I know that for a lot of entrepreneurs, finance is not necessarily their strength, but there is support. You should seek out support, and you should be well prepared for this. It doesn't have to be at a tremendous level of detail, but you do need to be comfortable with the numbers. You should be able to answer questions like, what's your burn rate? How much money are you spending monthly? And how far will this raise carry you? How many months will this help generate or help you support your business? So be prepared to answer questions on the finance. And don't be surprised if people ask you, if you're asking for a certain amount of money, at what valuation have you calculated that ask for? Next slide. So yes, with confidence, you are presenting your pitch and you're doing your very best, and hopefully you've practiced it and are feeling somewhat comfortable with the material. I can tell you that for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a very stressful process. You're more likely going to get a lot of no's. And to take the opportunity to practice this is best served live with real investors. You get real feedback. So it's not just about practice. I do encourage you to practice in front of a mirror so that you can see yourself and refine your words and your energy level and your body language. But try to be calm and consider, how do you build trustworthiness? One of the ways you do that is you make sure you uncover the risks that everyone else is going to be seeing. Don't hide them, bring them forward, talk about them, address how you're going to resolve or how you're going to deal with those risks. And with as much energy as you can, dive into this activity. This is something you're going to need to do a lot of, and you're going to need to change your presentation. So with each presentation, you'll learn something. If people don't see it the way you see it, then you need to hear and listen carefully to know how to change the messaging. What would help to have a more compelling or impactful message? You want it to be short and sweet, but it's got to be thorough enough for them to understand. And most importantly, you are competing. There are a lot of companies looking for funds. We've had a record number of mergers and acquisitions. Private equity is going through the roof, and there are a lot of companies that are jumping into early stage and seeking capital. So don't be discouraged. Finding the right match between investors and companies is a big part of it. And where you can find investors that have some familiarity with your space, with your technology, with your idea, your market, that'll hopefully bridge the gap for you. And next slide. So in pitching, investors will go through a normal process. Whether they use a tool or not, they are assessing certain criteria. And they're measuring not only your presentation, but also you. Pitch Score was developed by a couple of my colleagues at York Angels. It's an app that many angel investment groups use to measure and consolidate their pitch impact. So if you wish, you could use this information to help you practice and ask friends and family to score based on these criteria. You'll see the number one thing that investors put a weighting on in terms of the factors that weigh in on their evaluation is team. It represents a significant percentage of the overall assessment. And that makes sense. As I said earlier, execution is critical. What advantage? What's unique? How well have you protected it? Are you first to market? Do you have the team the ability to be able to execute on this? Do you have the necessary partnerships? Do you have traction? That's obviously going to be a really significant element as well. And that's the number 2 largest weighted element. How big is the market opportunity? What's your business model? What's your product? Is it scalable? Is it sales repeatable? Are you going to capture customers and keep them for a long time? Is it monthly recurring or annual recurring revenue? And traction. Do you have revenue yet? Are you profitable yet? Have you validated your solution? These are the things that investors look at to assess whether or not they're comfortable taking the risk and putting their risk capital forward. Next slide. Scorecard. So at the end of this, you'll be scrolling down below the stage. There's a link to download a fillable scorecard. There's also a bonus takeaway recap to download. So we're going to be asking everyone in the audience to vote. You can only vote for one candidate, but this will give you a tool to track the presentations and to score so that you ultimately have something that you can rely on to help you choose who you think is the winner. Thank you. So in just a short while, the Pitchy Cop Dish will begin. I'd like to keep in mind that we've been asked. Oh, we got a question. There we go. So Albert, thank you for the question. You must get dozens of pitches daily. What's the best way to build relationships with potential investors? How do we get your attention? How do we stand out? Great question. So yeah, there's pitches constantly, like hundreds of them a year. So the best way to build relationships, I think a key element is determining trust. You hear comments about coachability of the founder, of the entrepreneur, believable. I've seen pitches that were outrageous with regards to ask, and I've seen pitches that were extremely reasonable. So being reasonable with regards to assumptions, being thorough with regards to detail and addressing risks, those are things that will help to garner that trustworthiness. And if the idea is, I've seen pitches, companies that are really good ideas, but aren't necessarily scalable. You're probably not going to get a lot of interest. It's difficult for an investor to put money in, take a minority position, and have really no control or say over the business, unless they feel that there is a tremendous opportunity for them to garner a significant return. 5, 10, 20 times their initial investment to justify the risk. So believability is a big part of it. Trustworthiness, I think, is how you try to develop that relationship. That's a great question. Are there any other questions? Peter, thank you. So a typical pitch is, when we do pitches or when we receive pitches at York Angels, they're 10 minutes, and then we have 10 minutes for Q&A. If it's a pitch competition, they're typically 5 minutes. If it's an informal, 10 to 15 is probably the max, and then you've got time for Q&A. And an informal may take a little bit longer, given that there's going to be questions during the presentation. So, good question. Any other questions? Well, before we begin, I'm going to ask you to keep in mind that contestants have been asked to create a condensed version of an investment pitch. They have 5 minutes to sell you on their product. And like I said, a typical investment pitch would be 10 to 15 minutes. So please also note that in an investment pitch, you typically would mention your team and their qualifications. But for the purpose of this event, we've asked them to omit this part in order to keep their pitches short. And instead, so you can assume that each contestant is backed by a well-qualified team. With that in mind, I'd like to welcome contestant number 1, Peter Gillen from SmartBell. Please join me on this. Hey, Peter.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Welcome. We're looking forward to hearing you.
Thank you very much. I'll just share my screen there. Perfect. Can everyone see my screen? Hello. Have you ever looked at a Peloton bike and thought, why isn't there a product like that for building strength? If you want to train at home, you must either sacrifice on workout quality or buy a huge range of dumbbells and equipment. The average person doesn't have the money or the storage space for effective home workouts. Adjustable dumbbells are the obvious answer to the problem, but customers have 3 frustrations with current offerings. Firstly, they don't have enough weight levels. Secondly, they don't know how to effectively use them. And thirdly, they take too long to adjust. There is a market need for a dumbbell that allows people to get a full workout from home without having to compromise on workout quality. We're Atlas Smart Technologies, and we're here to change that. We're creating the world's leading smartphone-controlled dumbbell, the SmartBell. Dumbbell weight can be manually adjusted or else changed via our optional workout tracking app. Shown on screen is our manually operated engineering prototype. Users simply place the dumbbell into the cradle, press the push buttons, and the weight level adjusts. We are the only company in the world to use this innovative solution, allowing us to offer the SmartBell with 1 kilogram weight increments. Our novel weight mechanism increases the number of available weight levels and decreases adjustment time. Our integrated app provides people with the knowledge on how to use the dumbbell. We have identified our target market's 3 biggest problems and delivered a solution that solves them all. Our business model relies on direct-to-consumer sales. We can manufacture dumbbell sets for £180 unit cost, with potential to lower this as we scale. The dumbbells retail for £700, providing a gross profit margin of 74%. To buy the same number of individual dumbbells would cost £6,299. We will also launch a smaller 15 kilogram version of the SmartBell at a lower price, allowing us to segment our market. Our workout tracking app, called Stronger, provides an additional $4.99 a month. Our target market is incredibly excited to buy our product. These are busy people who want to stay in shape and reach their fitness goals, but who don't have the time to attend a gym. They often live in apartments or have families, and therefore storage space is limited. We meet their need by providing 26 levels of weight without taking up 26 dumbbells worth of space. Market studies validate the large market opportunity for the problem that we have solved. Google Trends data shows that demand for adjustable dumbbells is over triple pre-pandemic levels. People left the gym and they've never went back. The dumbbell market is worth £2.2 billion annually. We're aiming to capture 5% of the European market, generating a revenue of £31 million. We're going to become the Peloton of the strength sector, providing a full personal training experience from the comfort of your own home. Our primary competitor is the Bowflex 560 adjustable dumbbell, which costs £680 and offers 16 different weight levels. Bowflex sold over $100 million of dumbbells in 2020. Thanks to our mechanism design, the SmartBell offers an additional 10 levels of weight. The latest market entrant, the Jack's Jocks Connect, is quickly gaining market share, but customers complain about the lack of weight levels and reliability issues. We have identified a massive market and designed a product to become the market leader. To launch the Smart Bell, we are planning on a Kickstarter campaign in August of this year. We are aiming to sell 700 units, providing a gross profit of £416,000. We will reinvest this into scaling the business using our 4-pillar marketing plan. Firstly, our free app will help people fulfill their fitness goals. This app turns people's workout numbers into fun and shareable workout statistics, such as telling people how many rhinos they've lifted this week, or that they just deadlifted 10 spider monkeys. Last Saturday, we showed off a sneak peek and immediately went viral, receiving over 1 million organic views in 48 hours. Secondly, we've built a community by allowing people to share their workouts with their friends. Our app makes it easier than ever before to share fitness milestones with your friends. Thirdly, we will educate our users by providing free information and training tips via our blog. Finally, we will partner with home fitness influencers to show what the Smart Bell is capable of. Our idea is already making waves. We have received £45,000 in financial backing from organisations such as Catalyst, Techstart, and InvestNI, and recently won the Queen's University Dragon's Den. Our prototype is loved by our target market, with people expressing real enthusiasm at being able to buy it. People are amazed with how simple and easy it is to use. The Stronger app is launching tonight, and we have thousands of fans desperate to download it already. We are aiming to raise £200,000 in exchange for 10% of our company. We will use £120,000 to prepare the Smart Bell for mass manufacture, and £80,000 to execute on our 4-pillar marketing plan. Our financial plan relies on us reinvesting our profits. We're projecting a gross profit of £10.5 million in year 3, providing investors with a strong return on investment. The Smart Bell would prove to be the perfect acquisition target for companies such as Peloton, who want to enter the smart strength sector, providing investors with a potential exit opportunity. We want you to join us as we provide our customers with any weight, anytime, anywhere. Thank you.
Wow, that was excellent, Peter. Well done. I see you've been working on it. Very, very good. I'd like to ask the judges to join me on stage now and give us a brief introduction. Welcome, everybody. Mark, why don't you start?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Bob, and great presentation, Peter. I thought I'd give a few seconds to give our viewers my background, my comments, and my history. I've been actually an angel investor for 30 years as of tomorrow. And fast forward, I'm now the volunteer chair of Angel Investors Ontario, which is an umbrella organization of 1,600 investors in the province in 16 groups. And so how I got here is I actually got a mechanical engineering degree at Queen's University in Kingston, not Belfast, as I think Peter went to, both great institutions. Added a CFA and MBA along the line, and actually became a buy, hold, and sell analyst for technology, biotech, telecom companies at 3 different brokerage firms. I left that business and then started up a number of companies. So I know the pain that you have writing payroll checks every few weeks. That's something everybody has to experience. And then I went on to found Northcrest Partners, and that's a registered broker in Ontario, where I help small to mid companies, both private and public, invigorate their growth and expand. So that's where I make my comments from and my background. So maybe I'll make a few comments here. I thought it was a very passionate presentation, which is great. You obviously have been working at it, and your presentation is, I think, very complete. I like your comments that the workout people are staying at home instead of going back to the gym. I think that's very true. My son is taking me to the gym, so I understand the need to change the dumbbells on a regular basis 15 different times. And I'm keen to see that you're actually going the Kickstarter campaign. I might think that £120,000 might be a little light for getting some of your initial runs going in a profitable range. So I'd ask questions on that later. And the only comment I would say, just in your terminology, is you're going to make some good cash flow and return to investors, implying it's a short-term view. Investors are here for the long term. They want a 10 to 50 times return. So I think it's building upon a long-term return, not just implying a short-term return that you get 10% back in your money. That's not what we're in here for. So I was very impressed with the presentation. Turn over back to you, Bob, and one of my other judges.
Thank you. That's great, Mark. Okay, Jennifer, let's hear from you.
Well, I'm happy to be here today. So thanks for having me, and alongside some amazing colleagues as well. So thanks for the intro, Bob, and thanks, Peter, for the amazing pitch. A bit about me. I sort of have a very messy, I guess, blend of experiences. Studied criminology and public policy, political science in my earlier years, and very much 360 transitioned into business, and got an MBA at Schulich, and started to spend a lot more time in the entrepreneurial space. Grew up very entrepreneurially, and a lot of influence from family that were entrepreneurial as well. So it's sort of like in the blood, very sticky, and I have a great respect and love and follow suit with the passion that entrepreneurs share. So, and that entrepreneurial spirit. So a lot of respect there. Essentially, was involved with a company, went through an exit, started another business in the consumer technology space. We're in our 7th year now. So wear the entrepreneurial hat, which is quite helpful when looking at opportunities and investing. Started angel investing about 4 years ago. Really interested in health tech related opportunities. That's been sort of a sweet spot for me, but also look at many different opportunities along the way as well. Spend a lot of time in the ecosystem, helping with mentorship, pitches, events like this. Love to be part of these things. I think it's it fulfills also the curiosity element. I feel like there's so many things I'd love to achieve and not enough time. So it's brilliant to be part of these things. Part of the York Angel Investor Group, part of Halo Health as well, and more recently an investing partner at Canada Ventures, and we look to international deal flow and bringing those deals to North America. So that's where I spend my time. So I guess from a value perspective, that entrepreneurial piece, and founder and funder piece as well, which I hope to give some insights into that. So I feel a lot of the pain points on both sides. So to the pitch, Peter, today, it was really great, very well crafted. And I think you hit a lot of the points we were looking to see today, but also what investors are looking to see. So I really loved the identification of the problem statement. You really honed in on what you were looking to solve. One of the things that I was curious about was when I saw the image of the weights, I was really interested in how they work. So maybe because I've seen similar things as you mentioned in your competition slide, so maybe a demo in some capacity. So it shows sort of, the difference. So I didn't put it in my mind in a category of like, oh, I've seen this before. So something that ignited my interest a little more of how you differentiated would be really helpful. But I think you hit on all the great points. It was engaging, and you delivered the presentation really well. So it was organized, and you weren't rushing through anything. I think you made good use of the time. And the last point, I do agree with Mark. I think you need to think longer term with the returns from the investor perspective. So those would be my comments, and thanks again for the great presentation.
That's great, Jennifer. Excellent. Deb, welcome.
Thank you. First of all, that photo that I've submitted that we have up there for me, I have to apologize for that. I'm a little bit more happy than the photo would suggest. Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Peter, for such a wonderful presentation. I have to agree with everyone. I was pretty much blown away by what you had to offer, and I'm so excited to join everyone here. I know what it feels like to be in the position that you're all in, that you're presenting. I'm here in Ottawa, and I spent 15 or so years building and scaling a software company with my husband called UITV. My background is in psychology, people resources development, and culture and design. In physical space, which one of your points brought to mind, this notion of needing to do everything we can with the space that we have. It's that those areas of focus allowed me to hone in on those domains and in that capacity for the company, but also once we exited the business, which was to Warner Media, one of our partners and one of our funders, to channel that passion and use it to support other startups and organizations in our ecosystem here and elsewhere. So I now work with organizations like Invest Ottawa that are similar to Spark and some of these other support networks. And one in particular, a new program called She Boot, which helps support female founders to develop their pitch and their data room. And I work as a mentor and an angel investor there. And I also just joined as a new member of C100. Some of you may know that organization. But I have nowhere near the esteemed background and collective experience that my colleagues here on the panel do. So I will bring maybe a fresher, lighter, more junior perspective. But I have to say, this was very impressive. Smart Bell is a wonderful product that you've developed here. I have to say, the fact that you already know your exit plan, that you've keenly established that you're able to comment on it from soup to nuts, from beginning to end, the integrated app, as well as the fact that you've gone through all the process, you've got the Dragon's Den, your competitors, the competitor analysis that you've not just have no difficulty assessing and clarifying, but that you've been able to comment on it and you don't have a fear of assessing and really looking deep at what you can do to correct or adjust on anything that you see as issues there. The Kickstarter is a wonderful idea because community and that market is really where, like, you understand that market, you know where you need to go. Gamification, the education, the tips, and the partnering. I think you're onto something there. The comparison around Peloton, and I think that you're really going, if anything, short and not as far as you need to go, or you probably already know this, I'm speaking to the choir. European, when you talk about the European market, because you're tackling something that's space-based, the Asian market and anywhere where there's reduced space, that you're going to be able to push a little further than the European market, or anywhere where there is not as much space, you can go even further than that. I would say Japan, I think you probably already have figured this out. I think that you've done a fantastic job at compiling, and it looks like you've pitched this many, many, many times because it's very well formulated. So I have to say, impressive, and thank you for that.
That's great, Deb. Thank you. Thank you, judges. Excellent. Well done, Peter. Thank you. Now let's bring in our next contestant, Rowan Armstrong from BioLiberty. Hey,
Hi,
Rowan,
Bob.
how are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. How are you?
Oh, you're on mute. Can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Sorry, I can't hear.
Hang on 2 seconds.
Can everybody else hear you?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Uh-oh.
Yes,
Kaylee, is there an issue?
I can hear you, Rowan.
Okay.
We'll check and see if anyone else in the audience will let us know that they can hear.
It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
me.
So the audience can hear. So while
Okay.
he's pitching, Bob, if you want to just
It's just
play
me.
around with your headset
Sorry,
settings.
Rowan.
Awesome.
Right.
Do my
All right.
earplugs.
I'll
to-
remove ourselves now, and then Rowan, you can share your screen.
Okay. Good
No
luck,
problem
Rowan.
at all. Thanks, Bob. Even though you can't hear me, I'll just share my screen. 2 seconds. Okay, so I hope everyone can see that now. So hi, everyone. My name is Rowan Armstrong, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of BioLiberty. And I always start these pitches by saying that hands are pretty amazing. We use them to open doors, cook, drive, mow the lawn, you name it. A few years ago, my co-founder Ross's auntie developed hand weakness. Ross witnessed how his auntie struggled to receive sufficient rehabilitative support for her hands. It turned out that Ross's auntie wasn't the only one experiencing this problem. We found that there were 800,000 strokes and 3.3 million cases of hand injuries presented to ED departments per year in the US. Whilst the demand for OT services is increasing at an alarming rate due to an aging population, the supply of OT services is being outpaced globally. Given that the critical time window for stroke rehabilitation is just 60 to 90 days after onset, people aren't getting sufficient therapy soon enough. So our solution is a soft robotic glove which helps assess hand mobility and carry out rehabilitation. This is coupled with a digital therapy platform to help track and display the data. For clinicians, our glove reduces hand assessment time from 20 minutes to 2 minutes, and we allow the therapist to leave the glove with the patient to carry out unsupervised rehabilitative training, freeing up their time. For patients, the glove can be used at home to carry out remote therapy. BioLiberty's secret sauce comes in the form of soft and squidgy robots. Here you can see a soft robotic actuator, which is more lightweight, comfortable, and versatile than traditional robots. We couple these actuators with sensors and machine learning algorithms to track key metrics such as range of motion and maximum force. This information is fed into our digital therapy platform. We're currently drafting the first of 3 potential patents, which will be filed in June. We've been working hard with our regulatory consultants to streamline our FDA approval. So our total addressable market is over 1 million US citizens per year. The global rehabilitative robotics market will reach $9.5 billion of revenue by 2027. 1.4 billion of this corresponds to upper limb rehabilitation for stroke and trauma. Our competition is made up of companies like Neofect, Gripable, and Neurophoenix. The Neofect Smart Glove is made up of sensors which measure the range of motion of fingers. Gripable and Neurophoenix measure the amount of grip force a patient can exert with their hand. Our glove is the first product on the market to do both. And even with their suboptimal product, Neofect achieved £58.2 million of revenue last year. Our sales model is primarily B2B sales to therapy clinics. The glove will cost around $1,000 alongside a subscription for our digital platform. Reimbursement codes are already set up for this kind of device, and our secondary model involves B2C one-off purchases to people who want to take control of their rehabilitation. We will have an in-house sales team who will seek out contracts with large trauma and stroke units, and then we will use distributors to reach small to medium-sized therapy units. We will publish white papers and work with key opinion leaders to help build trust and clinical evidence. Our commercial traction includes getting letters of intent from key opinion leaders in the hand therapy industry. We've raised over £380,000 so far, 265,000 of which was equity-free, and we're filing our first patent in June 2022 with 2 other patents in the drafting stage. We've worked with leading hand therapy clinics, academic institutions, and product design consultancies to make sure our device hits the biggest pain points and can be manufactured at a low cost. Our timeline starts off with a clinical study set up for July 2022. We're aiming to close our pre-seeds round in November and reach FDA approval by May 2023, which will set us up for a soft launch with early adopters in June next year. We'll be closing our seed round in December 2023 to help us ramp up manufacturing for a full-scale US launch in January 2024. We're currently raising between 1.5 to 2 million pounds, and we would love for you to get involved. We have advisors working in some of the largest rehabilitation robotics companies globally who are looking at expanding their product portfolios to include hands by acquiring other businesses. And with Meta building solutions for soft robotics in the metaverse, we have some exciting avenues for a potential exit. Thank you very much for listening.
That was excellent, Rowan. Well done.
Thanks, Bob.
I love your traction. I think you're going to get some kudos. I think Jennifer said that this is a space that she's particularly fond of.
Yeah.
So great story. Well done. Let's bring the judges up and let's start to get some feedback for you. We'll mix up the order a little bit this time. So Jennifer, I teed it up for you. So why don't you start?
Thanks, Bob, and great prediction there, Rowan. First and foremost, great presentation. What you're working on is really exciting to me. I think you tell that compelling story as you started your presentation, so that captures the interest of the audience. So that was great. You did a great recap of the market. And I like the demo of the robotics piece. I think that puts it into perspective of how the product actually works. I like that you touched upon having, the reimbursement codes there. As you scale this globally, I think that's something to think about in each market, which I'm sure you've already done that, but like this is one of the hotter topics as you scale. And I really enjoyed that you had everything defined on a roadmap and what you intend on doing. I like the suspense of potential exits, but there are many, and I know that's worthy of a whole different conversation. So I appreciate that. One of the things that I would suggest is I found it a little difficult with a lot of information on the slides. And I know there's so much that you want to share, but sometimes less is more when you're presenting. And once you pique that interest, we can delve deeper into the details. And that's totally fine. It was a little bit much. I was trying to listen and read. And so just a piece of advice there. But otherwise, really well done. Excited for all the traction that you've had so far and happy to chat more. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Excellent, Jennifer. That was great. Good feedback. Mark, why don't you give us a shot?
Well, I think it's a great subject that you're working in. I can see that you've got huge use on this, just not for seniors, trying to make them more useful, get them out of isolation, which is a huge longevity issue worldwide over, but also for, I've got a friend that had Ben's disease, Ben's from diving and improper use, just a bunch of like micro traumas around the body, or my son who accidentally dropped a knife and went through his hand, and he could use something like this. So very practical around. The first question I had was just, I was a little confused as to whether the glove just senses the movement or does it actually move. So I think you need, the video showed both and I wasn't sure. Equally, it could be interesting, but I'd like to know. You're very courageous in my viewpoint to add a video in a pitch deck. In my 30 years of experience, I always tell people leave the videos out because 9 times out of 10, they do not work. So courageous. I love the concept that you're going B2B and then B2C. There's lots of things where I've had therapy and then I go and buy the device so I can self-medicate or self-regulate. And I think that's a huge market and perfect for you. And with the ability to have some of that information sent back to someone that can monitor it as well. Tremendous use of grants. You know how to write good grants. Keep up the good work. And I think your clinical study program is realistic, that you're going for a device that you don't have to do a huge clinical study. So that's the right track in the FDA, and timeline to 24 is good with your manufacturing team. So a very good, well-traction product, and good luck to you.
Thanks, Mark.
That's great, Mark. Thank you. Okay, Deb, what do you think?
Mark, very exciting stuff. I'm going to keep it to one main domain around communication, because I think this is something you really excel at. And this is a challenging topic to convey, especially to people that aren't in the area that you're focusing in. And you do it beautifully. You know, I'm gonna suggest that, you know, even just the focus around patents filed and FDA approval in some of these areas where, you know, there's exciting stuff, you could explore that, you could go deep into that, and people would be enthralled. Depending on how you want to do it, I believe that you're the person to do it. I don't know how many other people are great communicators in your team, but you do this very well. So this may seem obvious, that communication is key, but so many of us don't necessarily have exactly what is needed to do this as well as you just did it. Smooth transitions, the order of the info, you made it seem so well done that we didn't think about it, and that's important. The pitch, the pace, the amount of data, how technical it is, I didn't really feel as though it was overwhelming, and this is a very small amount of time that you're able to do it. Your demeanor, your sense of calm, it was almost like, to me, a meditative app speaker. I don't know if that was just me, like, you know, the people that do the Calm app, I got a sense that even though it was a tremendous, because I get very anxious when I'm listening to technical information, because I feel a need to really absorb all of it at the same time. But I didn't get that sense from you. I really understood what was happening and I could pull it all in. The only suggestion I would have, and I don't know if it applies here, if it makes sense, and maybe other people could weigh in on this, but is there a way for any piece of it, a tiny notion of it, to be telling a story or more personal? It may or may not apply. It may or may not resonate with you, but it's an opportunity if you feel that it would work. Sometimes that ties you to the recipient audience. And I agree as well with Jennifer that the detail, I'm always one for put as, especially with how you're able to communicate, less is more with the detail. You're going to be providing them with a package. I presume it throws people off. So reduce it. You're exceptional with your delivery. So thank you.
Thank you
Good
very much.
feedback. Well done, Deb. Great feedback from all the judges. So well done, Rowan. Yeah, thank you. All right. Let's bring Garrett Allen on stage from Indicom. Garrett.
Hi,
how are
Bob.
you?
Not so bad. Thanks for having me.
Welcome back. Yeah.
So, mobile operators spend billions providing coverage to their customers. The majority of this money is spent on infrastructure, like the tower you see in front of you. Where for end users, they're generally oblivious to these massive costs and they really only care about one thing. That's the reception that they get on their own phones. So Indicom is making hardware and software solutions so mobile network operators or cell providers know exactly what the coverage is like in a particular area for a given customer. So what is it exactly we do? Well, drive testing is the sub-area we fall into within the industry. It's exactly what it sounds like. A network operator will commission somebody to drive around an area and test for something, and in this case, it's reception. They do it for a variety of reasons. So they want to benchmark against competitors, see where they're strong or weak, and use it for marketing opportunities. They need to remain compliant with their licenses. So each jurisdiction in the world, here in the UK, it's Ofcom. In the States, it's the FCC. They regulate the telecom space, so they need to remain compliant with the licenses that they're issued with. And they also do it to debug problems in their own networks. So how do you do it at the minute? This is the existing solution. It's racks of mobile phones strung out in the backseat of a car. Each of these phones has proprietary software on it that costs 10k per individual handset. So if you don't want to do the math, that's 160k sitting in the backseat of a car. More often than not, these phones don't do everything they need to do, so you need to bring along additional equipment with you. What we've done at Indicom is slim all of this down. So we've removed all the redundancies. Just because you're measuring a mobile phone network or a cell network doesn't mean you need to use the actual cell phones. We've reduced it down to the just base components. We've taken away the redundant screens, processors, and batteries. So it's an integrated solution that we've come up with. We've also worked heavily on the software side of it. So we have mapping software that ties in with it. This is unlike our competitors, which I'll get into in a minute. So how we intend to make money, our sales model, we have the upfront cost for the hardware. So it costs us roughly 15k to produce each device. We plan on selling that for 50k. So if you take the hardware that our competitors offer, that's already a cost reduction in terms of the overall ownership costs. We also have the software that runs on the device itself. So we plan on issuing that as a recurring annual cost to our customers of 40k. And then we also have additional options for revenue, such as data sales. A lot of industries are getting into the kind of telecom space, Industry 4.0. You have driverless cars that need these networks, and they need to know what the coverage is like in certain areas. So we have that option too. So the global market for this, and this is just the hardware cost of those phones, at the minute it's worth over $250 million US, and that is scaling rapidly. So 5G rollouts are happening at the minute all over the world, and this cost is going to go up. So by 2027, it'll be worth over $500 million. Competitor-wise, we have 4 main players in this area, so they dominate with over 90% of the market share. Keysight Technologies, the largest of these competitors, make that solution you saw on the third slide, so the racks of mobile phones, and all 3 competitors follow suit. So they all make a very similar product, and we intend on disrupting that. So what we've been up to so far, we've conducted multiple stakeholder interviews. So everybody from CTOs of large telecom networks down to the end users. So the test engineers or technicians that will go out and drive around with this area, and we build their solution based on user needs. We've developed these relationships with a view to running trials with them and eventually converting them into paying customers. On the business side, we've raised 45k from non-equity investment to build out our prototypes. We've completed multiple accelerator or incubator programs from Catalyst, Ulster Bank, and Ideate Ireland, and we've also built up a panel of advisors that are well placed within the industry to help us scale. Our go-to-market strategy, this is an enterprise solution, so for those large costs that we've talked about, the customers really do demand the best of the best. We want to spend the next year continuing to develop out our product offering and eventually launch in July 2023. We're going to do this by converting those early trial partners, as well as selling directly into the network operators, the regulators, and the subcontractors. We're going to attend various trade shows and events in order to get those sales in the pipeline. Our funding requirements, so we're looking to raise 400k over the next couple of months. We'll use this money to onboard the founders of the company, provide for their salaries, also the R&D costs, as well as legal and regulatory. So we'll be developing out our IP and eventually going to market with a product that's fully patented. That is us. So we're Indicom. If you were a network operator, we will be your route to better wireless benchmarking and network coverage.
That's great. Thanks, Derek. Well done.
No problem. Thank you very much, Bob.
It's very, very good. Let's bring our judges on and let's hear what they have to say. Okay, Deb, you're up first this time.
Thank you. Thanks, Garrett, for that presentation. I'm trying to decide what I want to talk about. And let's see here. I really am most interested in your stakeholder interviews, actually. I mean, you have there's a lot there going on, and a lot of wonderful stuff. The fact that you want to disrupt, which I love, and that you have a good understanding of your competitor. I think there's a little chance for humor in there, but that's just me. You know, I don't want to bring humor into investor pitching. You know, there's a bit of risk there. But the racks and racks of cell phones and that visual, I think you can actually do a little bit more to even dramatize that, because there's something to be said about that. You're showing a really simple, elegant solution that you've obviously taken some time to develop, and you don't always have competitor examples that are so arcane, so that there's some opportunity there, and you're taking advantage of it. Go a step further if you need to. But that stakeholder interviews and that proving ground that you're using and utilizing, it's so valuable, that trust building and your opportunity to create the conversation to back that up. I would even say go a little further than what you probably are imagining, because this community conversation and the amount of information that you can get, like, go with a white paper even if you can. Depends on how much time and energy you have. But I was really curious about that. Everything else looks great, and I'll leave it to the rest of the judges.
Excellent, Deb. Mark.
Well, I think it's always interesting to see that high-tech companies have incredibly low-tech chains, links in their chain. And I went through that trying to get direct wireless to my cottage. And I had 3 people with stands holding up, looking at different things, not even understanding what the technology was. So you've masterfully identified an area where it could be disruptive. You talked about it very simply. It's very easy for us to understand. So right off the bat, we knew the terms of reference as to what the rest of your presentation was about. So that actually saved you a lot of time. And then you had some very good slides, very simple, about how you can use your funds. Because clearly you've been very successful in developing this so far with only 45,000, I'm not sure pounds or dollars raised to date. So that was good. It would have been interesting to see more information about the stakeholder interview. I, like Deb, identified that as a very good thing for you to bring forward, because a lot of people don't do that until the very last minute, until they've got their MVP out, then they talk about it. So the relationships you've built are like gold. So keep them going. And I would suggest that the direct selling, obviously, if you can get influencers out there, it doesn't take much for someone to jump on. So I just thought it was a good presentation. You went quickly on the parts that you had to and got the point across, and the rest of it was information that we typically don't see about the relationships that you've built. So a good presentation, and and I'm sure you'll find some other parts of the chain and some other links that you can fix very profitably. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, Jennifer, what do you have to say?
Thanks, Garrett, for the presentation. I enjoyed it, and I too liked the pictorial of the change in the solution that you're offering. I think it was really dramatic, and if you can emphasize that and use it to your advantage, it really conveys what you're looking to solve, and it shows that distinction of, you know, how archaic the solution currently is. I like your traction. I like how you've done so much with so little. That shows a lot, the savviness of your team, very resourceful. Some suggestions I would have in terms of your competition slide, making sure that you highlight more of the metrics that you're basically aligning yourself up against with the competition, and where you excel and how you differentiate. So spend a bit more time there. Similar to what Bob talked about in his initial presentation of, you know, some ideas of how to present your competitive landscape. And so there are many that exist. So use some of those that are just easier to digest, so we understand where you differentiate from a metric perspective. I really appreciate your involvement in the ecosystem. I think that's really important, because when you're pitching, it's a journey. So investors may see you at a particular point in time. That may not be the right time, but we follow along the journey, definitely. So staying relevant in the ecosystem is really important. So kudos for that. And then the last point in regards to your raise, I think it was 400K. Briefly looking at that, I saw basically half was going to salaries or onboarding the founding team. So that's going to be something that you're going to need to justify effectively, because a large portion of it, the raise goes to salaries. I mean, it's going to be a conversation piece, and how that really translates to your objectives with the use of those funds and the runway, and is the raise enough to support some of the other really important pieces on that use of funds table. Those are my thoughts. Thanks, Garrett, for the presentation.
Thank you all for the feedback. It's great.
Good work, Jennifer. Good pickup on that as well, because that will be something that investors will question. That's great, guys. Thank you. Garrett, well done. That was excellent. Next, we're going to invite Danny Gibson from Inkster. Hey, Danny, how are you?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm good. Good to have you back. I'm excited to see your presentation. Off you go.
Set to present. All right, give me a second here. Can everybody see my presentation? All right, and ready to go. Hi, my name is Danny Gibson, and I'm the CEO. Today, I'd like to introduce you to Inkster, where we bring artists and fans together. 91% of artists are completely undiscovered, making it almost impossible to make a living from their work. So not only do artists need to be discovered, they also need a better way to make money. So let's meet these artists. They love to create music, and they want to be able to make a sustainable income from their work. The live entertainment industry has changed, the opportunities and desires to play live have reduced, and many are flocking to this live streaming. But they don't want to play for free, and in addition to their struggles, they're not marketing experts, and they find themselves spending way too much time on their promotional efforts without any real compensation. And on the other side of the coin, well, let's meet the fans. They love to discover new music, but even more so, they love to follow and engage with their favorite artists and want a more interactive way of consuming content. They're always on a device, whether it's a mobile phone, tablet, or a laptop, and they're constantly on social media, streaming services, but other platforms don't offer a personal fan experience. People are already paying for these services and on other platforms, but they don't offer the full solution. It's only partial. Today, I'm bringing you the full, complete solution. It's Inkster. It's for musicians and artists who struggle with making a sustainable income and marketing themselves. We've developed a live streaming social platform powered by an online community of artists where they receive tips directly from their fans for the content, and they get paid for their live streams. It allows artists to monetize their content in a way that they never could before and make even more money while doing what they love. But it's also for the fans, providing them with a front row seat and a backstage pass experience wherever they go, something that's not offered on other platforms. Our research shows that people have become sick and tired with subscriptions, and they're looking for a new way to consume their content. So we've made Inkster free to sign up, and we only take 10% from every transaction. And just to remind you, artists were never able to actually monetize their content like this before. It was never a possibility for them in the industry. The market, well, it's huge. I mean, estimated to grow to 80 billion by 2024. The music industry is massive, but we understand that Inkster is a bit unique in its approach. So we're putting our focus towards the paid streaming users of North America that listen to rap, hip hop, and pop. Our research shows that these genres of music are the most influential in all viral forms of music and art. So we're putting all our attention into these industries and looking to acquire a serviceable, obtainable market of 500,000 users in the next 5 years. Also, it's worth mentioning that Inkster can actually be used by all types of artists and creators. Now, the competition. If you take a look towards the bottom of the matrix, you'll notice some of our competitors, such as Veeps and Dice, offer very little in terms of community connection. And on the other side of things, sure, you've got YouTube. They might offer a great community with monetization features, but you must have at least 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours in the past year just to be able to monetize those videos. Not to mention the sea of content that is unrelated to music and art that can really be annoying to a lot of users. However, with Inkster, you can start making money immediately through tips, ticket sales, and the community is interactive and it's engaging. So for anyone with a larger active following on other platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, there's an immediate incentive to get your content on Inkster as soon as possible. And to make Inkster even more competitive, it's made specifically and only for artists, plus they can sell their merch and artwork on the platform as well. Our go-to-market strategy can be summarized into 4 categories: targeting, building and nurturing strategic partnerships, chosen marketing channels, and customer retention. In phase 1, we're focusing heavily on our internal networks with partnerships that we've already built with record labels, universities, and colleges, and the content marketing and social media. Our goal is to acquire an estimated 25,000 to 35,000 users in the first 6 to 8 months. And as we roll into phase 2, we'll expand our reach and marketing budgets alongside sponsorships, festivals, concerts, and speaking events. In order to attract the right fans and bring the needed users to Inkster, we're aligning ourselves with other influencers from other platforms that boast larger followings, and with the anticipation that a small percentage of their following will actually come to Inkster, resulting in more users to the platform. Now, the traction, well, we came up with the idea in 2014, and I incorporated it immediately. For the first 5 years, didn't really do too much, but validated the idea with a successful Kickstarter and raised 30K. But only in 2019, when I joined Spark Center, did things really start to fall into place. I decided to put all my focus into it, and I gave it everything I had. Shortly after joining Spark, we raised the necessary funds to get the MVP built. And in January of this year, I received a whole bunch of government funding to test our product at Durham College's Cybersecurity Innovation Center. And we just received a little bit more to finish off the penetration testing. Our launch is expected for late summer of this year, and we hope to be on target with all of our goals rolling into 2023. Our financial plan is still under construction, and we're still working on all our costs. But based on our research, and this is just an estimated projection, that Inkster will be around a $50 million business or more by year 5, with the worst case scenario around 10 million. And that's it. That's Inkster. That's where we bring artists and fans together like it's never been done before. I'd like to thank you for listening today, and I really look forward to your feedback.
Very well done, Danny. Yeah, I see you've put a lot of effort into this. So well done.
Thanks, Bob.
Great speaking. And, you know, Danny Boy, I'm sure you've been called that in honor of our Irish partners today. We'll call you Danny Boy. All right. So let's see. Mark, can you start us off? What are your thoughts? You're on mute.
Okay. Certainly the musical area, there are lots of musicians and there's lots of venues, and COVID hasn't helped people get a chance to get revenue. And I think there's some 700 outlets in Toronto, and so there's lots of people competing for those, even though there's 700. So I like the concept of creating the whole web and community, tying people together. You spelled that out, and certainly there's a demand. There's lots of demand for royalty income funds around, so people are realizing the long-term benefits of collecting half a cent here, collecting half a cent there. Those are into $100 million transactions. I guess I would like a little bit more, just an example of what you might charge for someone listening, or buying a ticket for backstage of some event. I don't have the range to even think about. And I think it'd be interesting to see a website mock-up or whatever you have. I'm not sure where you are of how that interaction is or what sort of information. You've got a lot of things there. You can't use, of course, Facebook to sell merch because Facebook will take it all. So I like that concept. It'd be interesting just to see how you might actually articulate it. And I guess you said there's room for other artists. Are you referring to like print and media painting artists and stuff, just using this for other artists? I assume that's what you're talking about, that people don't get a chance to monetize, and obviously not talking about non-fungible assets here as well. So I like the concept. I think there's lots of room for making money in this marketplace, and I like the presentation.
It's great, Mark. Deb, what do you think?
Where to start? Where to start? Danny, congratulations. It's a monolithic thing to be exploring. One of the things that I've always wanted to do is find ways to support artists. And I have thought about this long and hard, many different directions. I know many organizations that are trying to tackle it in many different ways. It is a beast. One of my main questions is around the platform, because, well, it's something that we've tackled around every type of content and every type of user when it comes to mobile devices. And no SaaS is something that I have lots of swear words that I use when I'm talking about SaaS. I love the idea of no subscription and transaction costs, but things get complicated. You've obviously thought long and hard about this. So I'm not sure how this works. 30K raised with Kickstarter and MVP built. You're going places with this. I'm very, very curious. I'd love to know a lot more about it. How you're reaching your consumers is where I need to know more, because the mobile devices, with that number of people that you're reaching across all the devices, which proliferate every day and are almost virtually impossible to reach, and satisfying all of that while also 500,000 users acquired, and how, I think you talked about that in a following slide, but I wasn't necessarily tying them together. So maybe a little bit of a smoother understanding, across those slides, so that maybe they're closer together if those 500,000 are the ones you're referring to later. And then Twitch, when you're showing the matrix and you're giving examples of your competitors, what happens when Twitch or someone else decides to hone in or, turn their gaze to compete with your product once you've developed it and you're, gangbusters, spent all your money and energy? Twitch is doing wonderful stuff, has that market captivated, the gamify, they're intensely connected to their audience. And then if there is an organization that you said doesn't monetize at the moment, how long does it take for them to decide to monetize by, adding a little item to their existing platform? Those kinds of things. And then Etsy's doing something for their market, their consumer of artists. How long does it take for them? Those kinds of things. I have a lot of questions, but I'm super curious, and I think it's fantastic. And I'm sure a lot of it is just that I'm not well enough aware of the market. I love it, Danny. I love it. It's probably not getting conveyed very well, but I love it. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Deb, very passionate. Sounds like there's potential for follow-up here. All right, Jennifer, let's hear your thoughts.
Hey, Danny, thanks for the presentation. So first, I love that you convey the passion you have for this idea. And I also want to congratulate you for knowing when to go all in with your business. It's a really hard decision. And so realizing that and making that decision, kudos to you for that. That's awesome. I know it's really hard to do. I want to say that you should always remember some of the challenges that happen when you're building a double-sided marketplace. So never underestimate that. It's a difficult challenge, making sure you have the amazing artists on one side and the amazing fans on the other. So being mindful of that. I'm sure that's something you think about, but there are challenges there to always consider. I loved that you identified a lot of the companies that either I've seen pitch or know about in the space on your competition slide. So all these things were popping up in my head, and the concept that they were already on that competitive landscape slide made me realize that you really thought long and hard about this and you really understand the competitive landscape well. So that's amazing. Where I struggled a bit was with the 10% per transaction fee, but free to use. Like, how do we get people? It's great to get people on the platform. Is there opportunity to monetize in other ways? Somehow, I was just struggling with the monetization piece, and I think maybe with more time you could flush that out. But that was something I was concerned about. And also your financial model. I know you're working through that. And as you do get clarity on that, it'll be conveyed more effectively as well. But I know it's a process. So I respect that. So I love the passion and I love the concept of knowing when to go all in, and I love what you're working on. So I appreciate the presentation, Danny. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Great feedback, everybody. Okay, Danny, well done. All right. Last but certainly not least, maybe we've saved the best for the last. Victoria Watts from Pasta Tavola. Victoria, there you are. Glad to have you back. You're on mute. See the mute button in your bottom left? There you go.
I am just trying to, you can't see me, can you?
Yeah, we
Just
can
one
see,
second.
we can see
You can see me, but not my presentation.
and
I'm
we
gonna
haven't
try it
started the
again.
presentation yet, but welcome. Yeah.
Just
Good
one
luck.
second. Thank you. Screen. My window. There we go. Can everyone see it? Hello? Yep.
Yes, you're all good, Victoria. We can
Okay,
hear you.
great.
Good luck.
So thank you. Before I begin, I want everyone to take a deep breath because we're switching gears from the tech world and we're jumping headfirst into food. So I'm Victoria Watts and I am co-founder of Pasta Tavola. Pasta Tavola is a family-run, female-led food company located in Belleville, Ontario, Canada. Our mission is to enhance the lives of busy consumers by offering frozen meal options that can be cooked up in minutes. Our target customer is a sophisticated and busy one. They're conscious of what they eat and they have the disposable income to pay for what's important to them. When it comes to food, they look for natural options, options that taste homemade and can be easily prepared. During the pandemic, the frozen set increased 19% quarter after quarter as consumers were forced to stay at home and cook and limit their grocery store shopping. This set a new baseline of demand in the frozen aisle, and now customers are primed to shop here for premium frozen meal options. Analysts predict that the path moving forward in this category and to getting your product off shelf is not to produce cheaper products, but rather more premium ones. The solution? Well, it's Pasta Tavola, of course. Let me be clear. We are not the get the job done kind of pasta brand. We bring a product line that is familiar with customers, yet elevated in taste, quality, and nutrition for the conscious consumer. In 2020, we launched our brand nationally, having established relationships with national distributor UNFI Canada and with international brokerage firm Affinity Food Group. We built a business model that maximized a lean operating system, leveraged benefits and scale, and provided us with geographical advantage. Through our network of co-packers, brokers, and distributors, we streamlined our supply chain and built manufacturing capacity. Let's face it, pasta is a ubiquitous food category with lots of players in it. But Pasta Tavola has important key differentiators which separate us from other brands. Our strength lies in our ability to replicate a homemade dough and filling without additives, preservatives, or breadcrumb fillers. And we can do this on a large scale without sacrificing quality or taste. We are also we're also a frozen pasta company. We are not dried and we are not chilled. And this is where the white space lies. There is no Canadian national pasta brand offering a premium ravioli in the frozen space. Our international competitors left the space at the onset of COVID, leaving only regional and local players that do not compare in quality, in size of product, in manufacturing, marketing, or distribution. We are also the first to the Canadian market to offer a frozen, non-GMO project verified and certified plant-based line. This is a welcome addition to the growing vegan and plant-based market. The opportunity in this space is huge, and Pasta Tavola is making great strides. We have developed key relationships with retailers such as Sobeys, Thrifty Foods, Loblaws, Metro, and Whole Foods. We're currently in over 400 stores with a projection of being at 1,000 by Q1 in 2023. Our go-to market strategy is to continue to develop partnerships with our co-packers and distributors, to support our anchor accounts through strategic marketing and spend, to open new revenue streams such as food service, and to focus on more innovative items. Pasta Tavola is on track to increase our sales by 12% by the end of 2022. And by 2027, we expect to reach 1.25 million with our current lines alone. To date, we have raised over $200,000 in grant funding, and we were one of only 50 Canadian female-led companies to have received the Women Entrepreneurship Grant in 2019. We seek $300,000 in funding. This will be used to support the launch and increased distribution of our products in our volume accounts, to execute advanced digital advertising to drive sales, and to launch us into the national food service market with our plant-based product line. Thank you.
That was excellent. Well done, Victoria. It's been really fun for me to see how everyone's presentation has changed since I saw them all last. So well done. Okay, judges, come on board. All right, so starting off this time, I'm going to ask Jennifer.
Thanks, Bob, and thanks, Victoria, for the amazing presentation. And I love your backdrop in the background, so nice detail. I appreciate that. First and foremost, congrats on the amazing traction and being in 400 stores to date, relevant stores. That's awesome. And I've probably seen the product but didn't really know, and now it's more dear to me. So amazing. I love the traction. Congratulations to you and your team. I did hear a lot of things that were exciting adjectives and relevant adjectives. So you talked about the homemade taste, easily prepared, elevated in quality and nutrition, no additives and preservatives. And you were doing this throughout your presentation. What I'd love to see is like everything combined in one. Like I'd love, I don't know if it's a slide or something where it just tells me everything that's amazing about Pasta Tavola. And so as you were going through, it was like, oh, and this, oh, and that. And I was learning more and more about the awesomeness of your product as you went through, but it'd be nice to have it all combined and really show how it's differentiated. So that's one takeaway. I'm assuming after the 200 that you've achieved in grants, everything else has been bootstrapped, or that's the assumption I got to date. So, that shows investors, that you have skin in the game clearly, and that you're totally committed. And I think investors do like to see that the founding team has skin in the game. But to do all of this with 200,000 in grants, but your sweat and tears, like, that's amazing, and congratulations. So awesome. What I would suggest also is, I know you're looking for 300K. You clearly defined how you're going to use the funds, but what type of runway does that give you? Is it getting those 1,000 stores by Q1 next year? What are the other goals? Like, maybe the raise needs to be a little larger and the goals need to be more broad. So my suggestion would be to think about maybe a larger raise with more of a reach and scalability in different markets. So just something to think about. Those are my comments. Thank you for your presentation, Victoria.
Thanks, Jennifer. All right, Deb, what do you think?
Wow, Victoria, I don't know where to start. I really don't know where to start. I'm super excited, but I'm glad Jennifer said some of the things she said, because then I can not mention those, because I want to focus on the relationships that you're building, because they are exceptional. I know we don't talk about team because some of it's already in the background and presumed. I don't know the size of the team, and I don't think that you mentioned the use within the use of funds. Thank you, Jennifer, for mentioning that, because I think that's exceptional, your discussion of it. But I don't think that it was mentioned any roles or particular coverage there. But I was curious, does that include expansion? Because somehow, somewhere, you're doing exceptional things that are kind of being, I'm not saying you're glossing them or that they're being diminished, but the distributor work, the partnerships, the programming that's happening in the background that you're just putting up with, okay, we have supply chain development, hard work. There's stuff going on back there that is so incredible that it is kind of a presumption. But I know we all know what it takes to get there. Not to mention the one, the firsts that are happening, the Canadian offering, and there's a nice timing that's happening because of the pandemic that you're taking advantage of. So being able to see that, to be able to take that opportunity, kudos to you. But the other relationship building with the clients and consumer, that list is incredible. Sobeys, Loblaws, Whole Foods. And then the vegan, vegetarian, seeing that market and that market opportunity, it is a massive, massive market opportunity. So congratulations. The innovative items that you're looking to be able to achieve with that new potential, continue the relationships with the partnership and distribution. I have absolutely no doubt that you have the capacity to do that, because you're already proving it and showing it. And I would actually like to see the use of funds go toward expansion of that team, if it really would make it more exceptional, or allow you to do that in a more exceptional manner. And congratulations. I mean, the connection between female founders and that communication and the growth and relationship is not surprising to me, but wonderful job in communicating as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Deb. Okay, Mark.
Well, I absolutely agree with everything that Deb and Jennifer has said. I can see the benefit of having a preferred product. I just spent 2 weeks in Austria and Italy, the land of pasta, and just coming home and pulling out the 2-pound package, a 2-kilogram package that my son can devour in 20 minutes. After one little noodle, it just didn't cut the cheese. And so I decided I'm getting hungry right now looking at the products. I'm curious about your interest in moving to a gluten-free product. That's half of my family is interested in that side. I know your co-packers have to be totally clean, so there's some real issues. I think you should stress the fact that co-packers not everybody may understand it, but I assume you are doing the lab work, you're doing the design of the food, the quality, whatever it is, and you're handing it off to various regional manufacturers of different types. That's huge for a company of your size to not have that cost. And I assume that they're also eating, so to speak, the inventory costs of storing it in the coolers, because I can't imagine that 300,000 for expansion on national accounts would let you pay for inventory sitting in freezers across the country. So that's something you can stress or talk about. But to have those relationships is phenomenal, that you don't have to do manufacturing. I'm also curious, one, that looking at ingredients and stuff, I think Jennifer, Deb mentioned having a side-by-side comparison of the nutritional content of each or the actual ingredients. There's lots of people that look at that. If you're going to pay the premium price, chances are you're going to look at what those ingredients are, and that's the type of investor that's going to be curious. I agree that you should be looking for more just to achieve what it is. It seems impossible to do that. You've obviously got a secret sauce that's made you achieve this so much so far. And no, just a great market. I mean, I've seen premium pizza companies come and go, or come and become much larger market entries. You would think pasta is normally something you don't see new entries, but you've successfully come in, identified a part of that market, and just amazing distribution across the country. I've never seen someone get so wide a distribution on so little a fundraising, and you've been in business for several years, so kudos to you and the team. That's it for me.
Thanks, Mark. Well done. Thank you, judges. Victoria, thank you. Great job. All right, so I'm gonna ask the judges to leave, and I'm gonna ask the audience now. It's time to place your votes. So in just a moment, a poll will be available on the right-hand side of the screen in the stage area. Click polls to place your vote for the winning pitch. We'll give everyone a moment to place their votes, and then I'll announce the winner and bring them up on stage. And just to remind everybody, first place wins a $500 Visa gift card. There's your contestants. So the decision is based on the best pitch. That is the determining factor. So not necessarily the company that you like or resonates with you. It's who did the best job pitching. It is a tough decision. If I could sing, I'd sing When Irish Eyes Are Smiling, and I know you probably hate hearing that. My dad used to sing it all the time because my dad was born just outside of Belfast. Just a few more minutes. So I'm hoping that everyone has found their way to the polls at the top of the chat area. We need some Jeopardy music or a drum roll, perhaps. In case you're wondering, I'm not voting for anyone. I'm going to vote for all five. For those of you that are located in my time zone, I'm in Toronto. I'm thinking about having pasta for lunch. All right, everybody, we have the final results. I want to compliment and commend everybody's efforts. I thought you all did a spectacular job. Great presentations. The winner is Peter from SmartBell. Congratulations, Peter. Come and join me. There you are. Well done.
Thanks very much, Bob. That was a really great experience, and it was great to see all those pictures. It was really exciting.
They did a great job, and it was great to have the judges. They made some excellent comments, and I hope everybody made note of the feedback, and we'll work that into their pitch to refine it. In your case, you did an exceptional job, and obviously the audience felt that you were the strongest pitch. So what's next for you? Well, how are you gonna spend your $500?
Well, we're hoping to launch the app tonight, so it could be a busy night. Hopefully there's no technical issues, so hopefully going live in a couple of hours time.
Wow.
And now going from there.
What great timing. What an exceptional day for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you and your team. And we hope to keep track of you on your journey and looking for big things. And so well done.
Thank you very much, Bob.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. So thank you everyone for joining us today at Spark Center's Startup Grind in partnership with Catalyst in Northern Ireland. Networking is going to begin shortly, but I have a few things to let you know about first. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to scroll underneath your stage to download the takeaway recap document. And also to let you know, Spark Center puts out a quarterly magazine called The Spark, Business and Innovation. It's a magazine, and if you'd like to receive a free print and or digital copy of their upcoming Farm to Table Summer 22 issue, be sure to subscribe for that now at thesparkmagazine.ca. As the Eastern Ontario chapter of Startup Grind, Spark Center hosts monthly Startup Grind events like this. The next one is coming up on Thursday, June the 16th. And it coincides with the release of the summer magazine. So not surprisingly, they're hosting a panel centered around the magazine's farm to table theme. Like the magazine issue, the event will focus on innovation and new technology in the agricultural sector, innovative facilities, and more. Mark your calendars for June 16th and visit Spark Center's social pages to register. So now it's time for networking. If you haven't tried networking on the Hop-In platform before, it's fun and easy. It's a great way to meet new faces. If you wish to join us, you can navigate to this section by clicking the people icon on the left side of your screen. You'll be paired up with one person at a time for 3 minutes. It's kind of like speed dating. You can use this time to get to know each other. You'll have the option to extend the session if desired. And once the time is up, press ready, and Hop-In will automatically move you to the next person. Click the connect button if you'd like to exchange contact information with anyone. And thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed today, and I was particularly impressed with everything and everyone that I heard. So have a great day and enjoy the networking session. Thank you.